Hello and welcome to Drunk Girls Are Read.
Welcome to what?
Don't worry about it. Drunk Girls Are Read. Hello and welcome to Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast where two women ruin your childhood favourite books by heavily drinking during what are meant to be heavy and emotional moments. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Charlie, and we're two 30-somethings, I really want to say 20-somethings, combining hopefully intelligent literary criticism with drunken chaos.
We are currently reading The Hunger Games, and in this episode we are reading chapters 24 and 25.
So grab a drink, crack open your book, and read along with us. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Lovely lipstick colour.
Thank you. I am worried that I've become too approachable.
Charlie, I mean this in the politest way possible. I don't think anyone's ever said that about you.
Well, you think that in the past couple of weeks, I have been spoken to on the tube. The tube?
Are you wearing headphones?
3 times. All while I was wearing headphones.
I hate that for you.
It's disgusting. Twice I was knitting. And here's the thing.
Was it about the knitting?
Yes.
Yeah.
I knit on the tube to seem interesting.
Yeah, obviously.
Intellectually superior.
Sure.
Mysterious.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like a manic pixie daydream girl.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Not to be spoken to. But people keep stopping me and making me take my headphones out and asking me what I'm knitting.
I've got to say, this is actually a problem with reading physical books on public transport as well. Multiple times I've been stopped by men so they can tell me their thoughts about the book, but sometimes they haven't even read it. They're just like, oh, I've heard it's good. And I'm like, is anything about me reading this book, immersed in this book, giving off the fact that I want to talk to you right now and your opinions on this book? No.
Yeah. And then worse than the knitting, a woman stopped me literally a couple of days ago in the creepiest way where, okay, I'm going to need you to hold your microphone like you're holding the tube handle. Ideally with the hand closer to me. Like, as in, okay. She goes, lovely nails.
No. I mean, very nice compliment.
But
You
to
can
touch
point.
my hand,
Points.
she like caressed my fingers. And this was not, I was not being hit on. Like, this was like, I don't know, middle-aged woman. I guess she could be hitting on me. But no, she was just being weird. She just kind of caressed my fingers.
Okay, so you need to look more kind of angry and scary in public.
I think I do.
Clearly not. It's not working.
Please stop. And it's always during my daily commute.
Every time I get on public transport with Neil, someone talks to Neil. Neil has energy that gives off everyone talk to me on public transport, and I can't stand it. We go anywhere and people start talking to him and I'm like, oh my god, stop.
Yeah, I will never forget the time that I got on the tube and saw Neil. He was just sat on in my carriage. So I went and sat down next to him. He was looking the other way. And like, I sat a lot closer to him than obviously you would normally. So I sat very close and was like, and like the man looked like whipped round, like absolutely horrified.
Yes, but you've done the same thing to me in public before. You once at a bus stop pulled the back of my head or my scarf or something, and
I stroked your hair.
Right, I turned around with a closed fist to fucking deck you.
But at least that was intentional. When I sat down next to Neil, I was just sitting down, like, oh, he's going to turn around and be like, hi. But he turned around and was like, oh, thank God.
Please
I
zoom
just
in
spilled
on that
my
moment.
drink
I
everywhere.
hope that was on camera. I don't think it was. What are we drinking as you're drinking it?
We are drinking vodka lime sodas.
Gorgeous, delicious.
I made them quite weak because we have to do a million shots.
So who are the 2 shots for? Do we know? Foxface.
Foxface.
Oh, Thresh.
And Tresh, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, first up, we discovered this in the cupboard. We got sent some alcohols by this brand 3 years ago, and I thought we'd finished them all a while ago, but clearly not.
No.
This is O'Donnell's. They're a company that specializes in like fun, flavored, they call it moonshine, so like homemade alcohol. And this one is called Tough Nut, I believe.
Yes.
Lovely. Cheers to Thresh. Oh, that is lovely.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, very nice.
It's like toffee nut.
I should get back in contact with this brand. That's good.
I kind of did my instinctive, like I always do with shots.
I saw you do that.
And then, but it was like instinctive because then I was like, wait, the burn didn't come. That was nice.
Lovely. Thanks. Are we doing the other one just straight off the bat?
I think so, yeah. Get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way. So this one is for Foxface. I was about to say, oh wait, it's berries. That's so on brand. It's cherries.
Close enough.
Small round fruit. I thank you.
That's actually like really nice.
I love that. Was delicious.
I can still taste it. I kind of don't want to do this one just because the taste of that is so
I would
nice.
just sip that with ice. Like, I would not ruin that mixing it with anything. We really saved the best one to last for 3 years, forgetting it was in the cupboard. Oops. Cheers to Foxface. Also nice.
Yeah.
This really isn't a punishment. Actually, who said it was? This is our podcast. We're in charge.
We just, you got to pull one out
for punishment. Yeah, that was actually something. The shot for a major death was something we came up with on our other podcast, Goblet of Wine, which we have started to get comments like, what's your other podcast?
I know, which is
fantastic.
crazy.
I love that. Our other podcast that we ran for 8 years is a Harry Potter podcast called Goblet of Wine that we
started before J.K. Rowling was a massive transphobe.
Indeed, but we instigated something in that which was shot for major character death. And when we announced we were launching this one and launching it with the Hunger Games, we got a lot of comments asking us to continue the tradition. I think because they knew 22 people die, but it has to be, there are stipulations, it has to be a named and important character. Who creates what is a named and important character? Us. We decide.
Yes.
Not you.
Haha.
Haha. Chapter 24. So we kick off immediately where we left off last time, in that Foxface has just died. The hovercraft has come and taken her away. And Peter has assumed that Cato is close by. But Katniss has just said, no, Cato didn't kill her, you did. And then goes into the explanation of how Foxface died and how it was Peter's kill. We touched on that in the last episode, so we won't rehash it. But it is technically Peter's kill. They do kind of think that if Cato might come towards them anyway, because he knows they're the only ones left, he's going to now assume they killed Foxface, which is quite an advantageous position because he's going to be a little bit worried that they might be more violent and good at killing than he maybe assumed.
And it's 2 against 1.
Exactly. But that means they have no risk of lighting a fire. Their position's already been given away, so they may as well light a fire. So they light a fire, cook, I think, all their remaining food, put some of it in the bag and eat some of it. Katniss wants to sleep where they are, out in the woods. She wants to get back to sleeping in the trees because it's a really advantageous position. If she's up above, she can shoot down below, and she knows that Cato can't climb trees. But Peter says there's no way he's climbing a tree with his leg in the state that it is. Even with the healing potion, he's still like struggling a bit. He's too heavy, and also he doesn't think he can fall asleep on a branch. It is another instance in like Peter kind of dragging and holding Katniss back. But to be fair, there is never really a scenario where Peter could sleep in a tree. He is described as much bigger than Katniss, and Katniss is kind of somewhat defying a lot of the laws of gravity we've talked about with how she sleeps in the trees and like straps herself in. So it's more just like, because we're in Katniss's head, think about it as Peter dragging her back. But I think I almost needed to read this and see it as like, this is what happens if you form alliances. There are also negatives and there are compromises, and that's just how it works. So what that means is they have to go back to the cave because they know it's a well-hidden location. But Katniss is pissed off about this because it's like a 2 to 3 hour hike away, which at this point Katniss is like, they're going to call end time soon. I don't want to drain our energy. And 2 to 3 hours hike is a long time as well. As they're walking that long way back, Katniss wonders whether Cato is slightly unhinged.
Yeah. She thinks that he seems unbalanced and thinks that probably her score right back at the start, her 11, like really annoyed him.
I found this weird because even like as knowing what the tributes are meant to be like, I don't think Cato comes across as any more unhinged as what just the careers are described as. Like, they have literally been bred for this. Of course they're but I don't think he's more unhinged than other careers.
It's the other one, what's her face, if anything, talking about cutting her face up, that seems like the unhinged one.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess maybe it's so alien for Katniss to understand the point of view of like wanting to do this and wanting to kill people. I mean, yeah, it is unhinged. I think we're coming at it from the perspective of thinking more, oh, they were like indoctrinated and brainwashed. But yeah, like the sheer act of wanting to volunteer for the Hunger Games is unhinged.
Yeah, but he just doesn't come across as more And he doesn't come across with, like, to me, like a huge punishment for violence, unlike Glimmer, who did. Like, I don't know. I think the book itself is trying to build up this, like, Cato is the last big bad, because there's another line in a bit, and I'll just touch on it now, where Katniss says something along the lines of, it'd come down to her and Cato, but wasn't it just that all along? I was like, no, it never was. Cato wasn't set up to be this big bad. I don't think it was you and him all along.
I kind of get it. So she basically says that she feels like it was always Cato to kill, and that the other tributes were just obstacles. So I think it's less about, oh, it was always me and him, and more about he is going to be the hardest to kill, therefore he was the only one that ever mattered. Like, if there's one that's going to be really, really, really difficult, almost, it does mean that everyone else was just like a trial run. I think that's more what it's getting at.
Yeah.
Because I think when it's phrased like that, I kind of like, yeah, okay, I see how it can just feel like everyone else was like an obstacle.
I just don't think at the beginning of the book he was set out that much
I agree.
better than the other careers.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe more of a point needed to be made about him getting a particularly high score or something like that. Because, I agree. All of the careers at the start kind of just blended into one. Yeah.
So they both manage to get really long sleeps, even though they take it in turns. They both get, like, really full night's sleeps. And by the time Katniss wakes up, it's actually midway through the day the following day. But they know that the game makers are going to drive them together soon. So it's to their advantage to get as long sleep as possible. And they're almost a bit confused of why the game makers are leaving it this long and allowing them to get this extra sleep, this extra time to eat through a lot of their food. When Katniss wakes up, she's like, oh, well, let's refill our water, but I also actually, if they haven't, started driving us together yet, I really want to wash all my clothes. I feel really grubby. But when they step outside, they realize every piece of water has been drained from the arena, which lends more to the theory we were discussing in an earlier episode of the game makers draining water, so Katniss nearly died from dehydration in the first 2 days. Clearly they have the ability to drain water really easily, but what it means is they're forcing the three of them all back to the cornucopia. That's where the game makers want the final showdown to be, because that's the only source of water. And they're just like, all right, we'll go. Like, there is no point delaying it. The more they delay it, the more tired they're going to be, the less food that will be in their bellies, and the less water they'll have. So they're like, fuck it, we'll just go.
Yeah.
Which I can't imagine the, like, fear of just... I mean, I suppose there's some power in choosing to go rather than what happens to Cato, which is being chased, which I'll talk about in a bit, because I find it very interesting that Cato is chased there. But there's power in that, but also just the fear of having to use your own, like, free will to go to what is the most terrifying thing.
Yeah, I think, well, I'm not saying it's not scary, but I think the scary part would be the waiting. So I think if anything, like, I feel like I would want to run there, because I'd be like, I want this as over as soon as possible. Like, at this point, it's ending one of two ways.
Yeah.
So
might as well do it.
Yeah.
They get there. Cato's not there. So they're just like, oh, okay. We'll refill our water. We'll sit down, shall we? We'll just sit by this lake. And Katniss even sings to the mockingjays that are around her. She sings the 4-note thing that Rue told her. And then she notices the 4 notes start to go all, like, wibbly wobbly. And she's like, something's happening. Something's coming. Cato bursts out the trees and is running towards them
with no weapon.
Katniss shoots an arrow at him, which glances straight off his body. So he's wearing some sort of body armor. But when Cato reaches them, he just runs straight between them and, like, through. And in that moment, they look up and realize he is running from some sort of 4-legged creature. So they just take off after him.
Yeah. The body armor thing is so unfair. Like, it's so unfair.
Fuck did he get that? Are you telling me there's enough money for that to be sent in?
That was in the cornucopia thing.
That was something he desperately needed?
Yeah.
How is that something he
Because Katniss has a bow and arrow.
No, hold on. How could it have been in his cornucopia thing?
It says it in the next chapter.
Where? I thought it said
does.
it might have been sent. But that doesn't make any sense, because he was teamed up with Glimmer at that point, and if there's only one body armor suit, what's the point in sending it?
There might have been 2.
I do not remember it saying that. I was convinced it came from
only
a parachute.
No, only according to Katniss, but she basically, in the next chapter, I think she sees or fires another arrow at him and is like, oh, he's got armor on, and she thinks to herself that must have been what was in his package.
That's unfair and dumb if that's what was in his package. At least if it's a parachute, that's like an advantage of one of the richer districts and like the capital members sending it. That's dumb if the game maker sent him in with that.
I don't think it's any more unfair than if it came down in a normal parachute. But I just think, I don't know, I guess it's the Hunger Games. It's not supposed to be fair. But it is like, really, like, that's such an advantage to have full body armor.
Well, you say that, but this then actually lends into the point I was about to say. So I'll say into that and then I'll link it to the body armor. Did the game makers want Cato to die so it was down to Katniss and Peter for the good TV? Because I find it very, very weird that Peter and Katniss are allowed to just walk to the centre, whereas Cato, who we have not seen any shyness about throwing himself into the killing, is being chased down by the mutts into the centre. I don't think he was going to hide out in the trees and be like, do you know what, I'm not going to go. I don't fancy killing them too. That's not in Cato's nature, which means he was probably already making his way there when they just decided, I'll chase him down by the mutts, which therefore means if the body armour was given by the Capitol, did they want this horrible drawn out death where he cannot die by the dogs because he's wearing the body armor?
So I don't think they might have had a slight preference, but I don't think they specifically wanted Katniss and Peter. I think they wanted it to be two from the same district. So when he was given the body armor, Glimmer was still around. So I don't think the body armor was part of that discussion, but I think 100% they set it up so that they wanted to set it up to be one of the two from the same district to then pull that plot twist.
Yeah.
So they gave him the body armor when Glimmer was still alive. Glimmer died, and from that minute they were like, okay, the final two has to be Peter and Katniss.
So they set the mutts to chase him down, but also then the body armor almost screws them over, but makes for better TV in the fact that we're about to get the worst multiple paragraphs I've ever read, which is Cato not able to die because he's wearing the body armor.
Yeah, but 100%, like, because I mean, I guess you could make the argument that, like, because the creatures are supposed to be like wolves almost, you could argue, oh, but it's a pack, but like there's no reason they could have split the pack really to go after both like groups of tributes.
No, the game makers chose to send them after Cato. Like Katniss and Peter even comment on like, this is an easy walk to the center, and then Cato's being hunted down by a pack of 20 dogs.
100%. They wanted that plot twist moment.
Yeah. So
yeah, they're being chased down by, it's described as like a pack of like almost like human-like wolves. Katniss just fucking dips. She straight up forgets about Peter, just runs, which you would, it's human instinct, but it's not until she gets to the cornucopia, which Cato is already climbing, and she starts climbing, and she's like, fuck! Peter,
who has a damaged leg, so is 20 feet behind her, limping along. And like the amount of times this book just like, I've read all the way to the end now, and Peter is meant to find it like a shock that Katniss doesn't feel the same way he does, and I'm like, she kind of abandoned you there.
I disagree. I think you would, this is human instinct at this point, like you would run and forget. And I think she does feel the same way. Maybe not quite as strongly, but she definitely doesn't know it.
Yeah. I think they're also just built differently. I do think Peter would have waited behind and made sure Katniss got in front, but Peter is like a special sort of self-sacrifice boy.
Yeah, and Katniss is very much used to being in like survival mode.
Yeah. So Katniss is climbing the cornucopia, but...
Well, so she does stop. So she stops and she fires an arrow and kills like one of them.
Yeah.
But there's obviously this entire pack. So Peter is basically like, go. So she then does start to climb the cornucopia again, because she's like, at least when I'm up there, I can then like have probably a better vantage point to shoot.
But psych, A, the dogs can stand up and lean against the cornucopia, and B, the book keeps reminding us that Katniss is down to 6 arrows. She shot one at Cato, and that's now lying on the ground, and she just killed a mutt with another. So she's down to like 5 or 6, which is extremely stressful and good tension to be like, there are limited hours, and there are less arrows than there are mutts. So Peter is struggling to climb up, and the mutts are kind of at his feet. So Katniss is pulling him up, and she's really worried that Cato's just going to come behind them and like stab them in the neck this whole time. But luckily, Cato has clearly sprinted for the last like few miles, so is absolutely passed out, exhausted, so she can concentrate on pulling Peter up. But the mutts are jumping. I hate this. I also can't imagine these wolves. Like I'm not, all I'm picturing when it was like humanoid wolves was the Twilight CGI wolves.
Yeah. There's a really interesting moment when Cato is like bent over the side of the cornucopia, like just like breathing and probably trying not to vomit from like having run so far. And Katniss is pulling Peter up. When Cato asks them if they can climb, as in if the wolves can climb. And it's so interesting that there is this like momentary truce between them all.
Yeah.
Like they're getting Peter up there, Cato's exhausted, but actually being like, can they climb? They have been united by that absolute terror of the mutts.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. And I think it's a moment to like slightly humanize Cato, to stop him being this just like machine of a career.
Yeah.
And actually being like, oh, he's really scared and he's showing weakness. And I think, obviously, from a writing perspective, this is in there to do a teeny tiny bit of humanization before giving him the worst death in the book.
Yeah. As Katniss is pulling Peter up and then deciding what to do from there, because the mutts are jumping, she realizes that not only can they stand up and they look a bit weird, as she's looking into their eyes, she realizes they're human eyes. And once she realizes that the hair color of the mutts is all different and matches the hair colors of the tributes. And she realizes they're each wearing a number around their neck. And the mutts, actually, each one represents each tribute. But what Katniss can't work out is if it's their real human eyes, and if the mutts have some sort of memory bank of what was done to them in the games, and they're trying for some sort of like twisted revenge thing. And we don't get an answer to that ever, if it's their real human eyes. So like,
yeah,
thanks book.
So the glimmer wolf has jumped onto the cornucopia, but then luckily is like slipping off. Like they can kind of jump onto it, but they can't really climb much further up. Which, I mean, is it good luck? Is it designed? Who's to say? I guess maybe it's designed because I guess they have to give them a safe space, or it would literally be just down to. And okay, as much as I like shouldn't be like, oh, like if I was in the Capitol I would be annoyed by this, but like because you know it's the Hunger Games, but I do think I hate the idea of I think if I was a viewer it would ruin the Hunger Games for me when the mutts were like heavily involved. Like I think there's supposed to be some years where they were very heavily mutt based deaths. To me as a viewer, I know the Hunger Games is bad in general, but this would ruin it for me. I'd be like, no, I want to see them kill each other.
I absolutely agree. I've always thought that. And that was one of my pet peeves with Sunrise on the Reaping. Almost every single death was mutt-based.
Yeah.
And I understand the game makers have to move the game along, especially in a situation with Sunrise on the Reaping where the tributes are fucking refusing to kill each other because they formed a big alliance. But as a viewer, if you imagine this how reality TV works, in the same way that like I get very annoyed when I used to watch Love Island or watching The Traitors now, when I can tell the producers have had to heavily do something. For example, the last season, The Traitors, when they clearly wanted to move it in a certain direction. So in the last or penultimate episode, in the car, they put Alan, Car and Kat in the same car so they could have a private traitor discussion that they would have had no other time for. That kind of pissed me off because it was very heavy-handed from the producers.
Yeah, it was the same with the last season, Big Brother, and in the end I stopped watching it because it's so obviously rigged, where one, they put in a load of previously voted out contestants. And I'm like, if a contestant has been previously voted out, that's it. They've lost. They're out. You can't put them back in. That's so prioritizing the production over the authenticity. That annoys me. And then there was also like one really horrible woman, but who from like a, I guess, production point of view, provided a lot of entertainment. Every single week managed to somehow get immunity because they can like win immunity and stuff, and it was always her. And apparently she didn't even have to audition. She was friends with someone like we're at ITV, and then every single week it was her getting the immunity when she definitely would have gone out. And I was like, no, I'm not watching this. If this isn't genuine, I'm not watching it. And I know there's a line I can deal with a certain amount of rig, but when it's like that blatant, I'm like, oh come on, at least be subtle.
Yeah.
So yeah, this would annoy me, the whole like mutts thing.
Yeah. Because Cato is going to try to kill them anyway. This isn't a situation where all three of them are like, actually, I'm not going to kill you.
Exactly.
La, la.
Like the manipulation with like the water, great. Like that's how it should be, forcing them together. But when it comes to like literally having the mutts doing the killing, as a viewer, I'd be like, nah, I want my money back.
Yeah.
I signed up to watch children kill children.
Sunrise on the Reaping had only like one child killing a child. It was just fucking weird bird things the whole time.
I want to see more children killing children.
Great producer of the Hunger Games.
Yeah. This TikTok creator has done a Hunger Games spoof. She's got, I can't remember her last name, but she's called Grace.
Oh my God, I watched it today on YouTube, the full like 45 minute
Did you
thing.
watch it
I watched
all?
it today. Yeah.
Oh my God, amazing. It's so good, guys. It's called The Hunger Games, but better. Go watch it. It's like 40 minutes long. It's on YouTube. It is so fucking good. She literally is a massive Hunger Games fan. So she just wrote the film from memory, and then it was her like birthday weekend. They all went away, her and her friends, and just filmed it. It's absolutely brilliant. But there's a bit when they're spoofing the scene at the start of the film where it's Gale and Katniss talking like in the meadow or whatever, and they're like talking about the Hunger Games, and they're being like, oh yeah, it's like slagging it off, and then they're like, it's great TV
though.
Really good TV. And I'm like, low key. I mean, obviously, no, it wouldn't actually be. But I would love to, like we've said it before, I would love to watch an equivalent that is like paintballing or something.
The thing is, that's unfortunately the content Mr. Beast makes, but I refuse to watch any Mr. Beast video. You watch Mr. Beast, haven't you?
No, but I'm gonna save that tidbit for the next episode.
Oh, the Sidemen do it. It's the Sidemen.
You ruined it.
Oh, sorry.
I watched The Sidemen, almost 31 years old. I watched an episode of The Sidemen the other day.
Is it their annual whatever it's called?
It's hide and seek. I was seeing clips on TikTok and I was like, yeah, I guess it's that always Hunger Games like concept.
Was it good at least?
I was just fascinated, and also from like a production point of view, I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
It was good. Again, there was some stuff about that though that really annoyed me, where it was like they clearly had to like give the Sidemen an advantage from like a production standpoint. So they did a few things where I was like, oh, that's kind of ruining it. Like, but yeah, after, and I was like, actually that wasn't that bad. I was like, I know it's really cringe, but like I'm not really familiar with the Sidemen. So I just assumed that they were like Mr. Beasty kind of things. And I was like, okay, at least maybe they're like a less evil Mr. Beast. Maybe I'll check out. And then I looked at the rest of their content and I was like, no, cringe, just awful.
I have a friend who does all their live events. He is the event planner for all their live events.
Wow.
I know.
But
and I still never watched them.
No. I mean, literally, I expected the rest of their content to be like the hide and seek thing. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe. And then I looked at what it actually was and was like, no. Slop. Absolute slop.
Slop with millions of
content
views.
slop for like 11-year-old boys. But the hide and seek was
It's
all
better.
right.
I'd rather 11-year-old boys watch Sidemen than fall into the TikTok rabbit hole. They can watch as much Sidemen as they like. So one of the mutts grabs Peter's leg, and unfortunately, it's already the injured leg.
Well,
Yay!
I would say, fortunately.
You're right, actually. In terms of what happens in the final chapter.
Yeah.
You're right that but his leg is hanging over the edge because he's like exhausted and it's already injured. And then a mutt grabs hold of it and drags it down. And Katniss describes it like the mutt's teeth are like through and through. Like Peter's leg is just like got a hole in it. Peter manages to kill the mutt. I said it was Katniss and it wasn't. Katniss is determined to just like.
But I love it because Katniss is like, kill it. And then Peter kills it. And I'm like, had the thought not occurred?
Did she pass him a knife? I think
no, he had the knife.
Oh, just hadn't thought of that. I think he's trying to hold on, and then because Katniss grabs hold of him, he then has the hands free to kill it.
Yeah, but it's still just like I get how it actually happened, but how it's written is just really funny.
Oh, I should do that.
It's like kill it, and then the next line is like, and then he killed it.
Duh. So he kills it. His leg is got a hole in it, like a hole, and whilst Katniss is like trying to deal with the hole and getting an arrow and trying to deal with like, is the mutt gone? Thresh uses that moment to grab Peter and put him in a headlock.
And part of the really like frustrating thing about this whole scene is the fact that the entire time this has all been going on, Katniss has been periodically looking at Cato and making sure that he's still lying down there.
Yeah.
And if she wasn't having to worry about Peter, if there was even a few second gap where she had the time, she could have ended it right there.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he was lying there, literally one arrow, and maybe in fact there were moments when she should have just done that and it would have ended it a lot sooner for all of them.
Yeah, it would have been better for Cato, considering what's about to happen.
Like,
I'd much rather just immediately be shot.
Like, if Peter had even, 10 seconds and she could kill him that quickly, that was the best thing to do. But I guess in that moment, you can't... You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the whole argument and the lawsuit with that guy that landed the plane on the Hudson.
Yeah.
Like where there was that the basically the legal case was they were like, you didn't need to land it on the Hudson, you could have got back to the airport, and they basically ran a load of tests where it was like at the exact moment something went wrong, they did simulations of could he have gotten back to the airport, and all of the tests were like, yeah, he could have gotten back to the airport, but then the lawyers were like, that is assuming absolutely no deliberation time and to work out, to do the maths, to process, and to have even a moment's hesitation. If you factor in that moment's hesitation and the working it out, there was not enough time, and therefore he did the right thing, and that's why he won the lawsuit. This kind of reminds me of that, of actually, it might have been quicker to just kill Cato, and that might have saved Peter. But I guess the moment's hesitation to work that out and the uncertainty meant that Katniss just had to save Peter.
Yeah, and also the whole time she's been checking on Cato, he has been down, and although he grabs Peter when he's down, Katniss still has a moral dilemma about shooting Cato when he's down and recovering.
I wouldn't have.
I think she wouldn't have if she'd had, as you said, longer to think about it. But I think that hesitation of I can't shoot him while he's down means that, she is a morally good person overall. So I put Tresh for some reason. So Cato has Peter in a headlock whilst Katniss is distracting, killing Tresh, who is so bouncy, he's bouncing all the way up the cornucopia. So Katniss has to waste an arrow on the Tresh because he can apparently jump 10 foot in the air. That is then a complete stalemate, because if Katniss shoots Cato in the head, which is the only place she can shoot him, he will then fall backwards, taking Peter with him. Cato completely knows it's a stalemate as well. He also knows, it's really interesting because Cato knows he's dead at this point by grabbing Peter, because also if he slits Peter's throat or whatever he's planning on doing, the moment Peter's dead body drops, Katniss shoots him.
No, I think he's planning on using him as a shield.
Oh, his dead body as a shield.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I would assume that the next move would be Peter dies or is close to death, he then charges at her.
Lovely. We love using dead bodies as a shield.
I do it all the time.
Peter is struggling to get out of this headlock because his leg is bleeding copiously because it has a giant hole in it. But he manages to, with the blood from his leg, do an X on Cato's hand. And what I found interesting about this is the book and the film differ here, and I had been thinking of the film until I read the book. In the film, Peter just goes like that, so Cato never senses it or feels it. So Katniss then kind of has time to draw the arrow and think about it. The way it's written in the book, Peter just draws across using the blood, and in the same moment Katniss has realised what he's doing, so does Cato, and it's kind of more tense that way. I kind of liked it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think the book way is almost more cinematic. Yeah. Drawing a literal X marks a spot, a literal bullseye, is more cinematic. But I think that the book way, it also makes a bit more sense, because I think the fact that Cato would flinch and kind of move the moment you realise you're about to get an arrow through the hand, even though it's maybe not the logical thing to do, probably the logical thing to do is tense up and it's just going to happen, but that's the only way out of that situation. You're getting an arrow through the hand, and you have to, but because he goes flinches, I assume, to move is when then it can happen, but he slightly let go of Peter, which means Peter can shove him off.
Yes.
If he had tensed up, Peter wouldn't have been able to shove him off.
Well, what I also liked about the book is the kill is a lot more Peter's involvement. So in the film, Katniss shoots the arrow, Cato goes like that fully with his hands and just falls backwards, but it's teamwork here. He flinches, Katniss still shoots the arrow, but because his arms are still somewhat around Peter, Peter just pushes backwards with his entire body weight, almost killing himself, because it's Katniss grabbing him and pulling him back forward that means he doesn't go over the edge.
Yeah, and it means that we get both strategy coming from Peter as well as actual physical skills, which I think are really important at this point. I went to say part and also point, because we've seen Katniss as being the strategic one throughout. So it's nice to see actually Peter kind of being her match and her equal. And I think it's also important that they both do contribute to the win right at the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that strength of him pushing Cato over the edge.
And
to
also
point,
the intelligence of that.
Yeah, is so, like, I would say that's a lot more Peter's kill than Katniss's. Like, yes, he got himself grabbed and he once again injured that fucking leg. But
I think, you know what? I don't think he wanted the leg.
no, I don't think he wanted the leg. He wanted that leg gone.
Oh my God, like that guy, that doctor that had the kink for amputation.
Yeah.
That's Peter.
Yeah.
Peter's got... Sorry, that's probably really not okay to say.
Yeah. Okay. So
all I'm saying is that leg keeps getting injured. I think Peter wasn't that attached to it.
no. So Cato goes over the edge, but ha ha ha. Does he die? Absolutely not. He fights the mutts, but they can't bite through him because this body armor is really, really powerful. So he's just out there killing mutts whilst they try to attack him and the teeth don't go through the body armor. And Katniss can hear that it's kind of moving around the outside of the cornucopia because she can hear all the sounds. She knows Cato's killing some mutts. This goes on for an hour, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg. This goes on for an hour before Cato is finally overpowered, as in the weapon is taken off him, falls down, and then his body is dragged inside the cornucopia. But does that kill him? No, because he's wearing the body armor.
And it just seems slightly unbelievable at this point. It does feel like his throat would get slit in the process, or just a certain amount of brain damage.
Well, surely they'd just bite his head off. Like,
yeah.
Katniss theorizes that this is what the game makers want because it's good TV.
Yeah.
I question if this is good TV. Like, from the standpoint of us earlier being like, what makes good TV? I don't think what is about to be described as 9 hours of someone being chewed is good TV. But
No.
Katniss is like, but they'll be cutting to me and Peter nearly bleeding out on the top. And like,
Yeah,
I
guess
don't know.
I guess the only way I can think about it as good TV is the idea of Cato and Peter both bleeding out and it being kind of like a race.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that the thing why the Hunger Games would be in some respects good TV, obviously no, we know, but it's all of like the strategy and they were really close to each other and they didn't realize, and like the kind of faster action moments and like the survival. It's not the gore and the violence, but maybe I'm saying that as someone that doesn't like gore and violence in like horror films. Maybe some people would find that appealing.
I just think 9 hours of gore and violence is ever appealing.
Yeah, I don't think watching someone get tore apart by wolves until they're just like a bloody mess for 9 hours.
Because it's clearly intentional, otherwise the mutts would just bite his head off.
Yeah.
Unless he is using the body armor arms over his head. That's the only way I can see him not getting his head bitten off.
And he's clearly not, because by the end he wants to die.
But also the bleeding out theory, who will bleed out first, doesn't really work either, because we are assuming at this point what they want is to do the announcement of, lol, changed my mind, only one of you can win.
No, but I don't think that they do actually want it to be like a gamble of who, but I mean that as in that's the good TV, because obviously the viewers won't know that they do want Peter. So I think that the game makers know that Cato's going to die first, but they want the viewer to not know and to feel like, oh no, which one of them is it going to be?
Yeah, and I suppose there's also that thing of like, wouldn't it be tragic if they both could win, but Peter bled out 10 minutes before?
Exactly.
So, speaking of Peter bleeding out, whilst Cato is being munched, Katniss makes a tourniquet for Peter's leg using her shirt and the final arrow in her quiver. She is aware while she makes the tourniquet that it will stop the bleeding, but runs the risk of Peter losing his leg, because that's how tourniquets work. They cut off all the blood supply, so you could end up losing the limb. The whole night passes.
Sorry, before that, I find it really interesting how the entire time Katniss has been like, I don't know anything about healing.
Yeah, you're right.
And then like the amount of time she heals him, like, and does fairly advanced stuff, and this is just like another one. And I think this is comparable to her thinking, no one's ever helped me.
Yeah.
It's almost like she is just completely unaware sometimes of like her own skill and effect.
Yeah, and she thinks like, oh, I'm scared whenever my mum heals people, but she's clearly listened and absorbed a hell of a lot. Cato stays alive the whole night, and not only is Peter bleeding out during this, the game makers, who are in control of the temperature, have lowered the temperature to the point where they're also both freezing and have got hypothermia on top of that thing, especially because the cornucopia is made of metal and the metal turns really, really cold. So Katniss has also ripped her own top up to make the tourniquet. So they're both zipped inside Peter's jacket, freezing, listening to Cato scream. And this, because he's inside the cornucopia, this must really make Katniss question, but also made me question, why, when he was fighting the wolves for an hour around the edge of the cornucopia, did you not shoot him then? Why did you leave it? Like, it was an hour of him fighting the wolves around the edge of the cornucopia.
I guess I feel like at this point you would be done with killing.
Yeah.
I think she probably thought it would be over sooner than it was. And maybe if he did manage to start climbing the cornucopia again, then she would have. But I honestly think, like, you know, the night before she was thinking to herself that she just wants all the death to be done with.
Yeah.
I don't think she wants to kill him.
No. So they have to listen, and not only is it like munching sounds, in the end, Cato is at first begging for his life, but in the end not even making like human noises, just kind of whimpering and crying. And this carries on until dawn comes. So we've had sunset and then sunrise.
Yeah, and they're literally, to get through it, they're just watching the position of the moon. Excruciating. This does sound absolutely horrific.
And Peter's bleeding out, so Katniss like periodically is like, hey, 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 hey,
yeah,
hey,
just trying to keep him awake.
don't die. Peter, once the sun emerges or the light starts to lighten, thinks that the sounds of Cato has moved closer to the mouth of the cornucopia. So clearly they've both been thinking the same thing for a few hours, which is, I would shoot him, but I can't reach him. But if he's near the mouth of the cornucopia, she might be able to reach. However, the final arrow is in the tourniquet. So the only way to end Cato's suffering, but also to get them both out, because they presume that the moment Cato is killed, the hovercraft to rescue them will appear, is to remove the arrow from the tourniquet in Peter's leg, load it into the bow, and she has to lower herself over the mouth of the cornucopia with Peter holding onto her legs to be able to aim at Cato. I kind of thought in the back of my mind, wow, wouldn't it be bad if you leaned over the mouth of the cornucopia and then one of those wolves just like leapt up and bit your head off? Doesn't happen, and she manages to get a shot of his mangled piece of meat body, and he's like nodding like he does want to be killed, like he does understand what's happening, and shoot him in the head and kill him.
And there's a lovely line that says, I didn't write the exact line, but it's something like, it was pity, not vengeance, that made her end his life.
Yeah. And I'd kill someone in that situation. Jesus Christ. Like, that's awful.
And I have done. So nothing happens. Nothing happens. He dies. They're just kind of sat there. And I think they literally start asking, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then they think, okay, maybe we're too close to the body, you know, because they normally come up and like take them. So they're like, we're gonna have to move. Obviously, Peter is still very much bleeding out with his fucked up leg. So they manage to move away and they get back to the lake where their stuff was. And then all of a sudden, there is a voice making an announcement, and it just says really quickly, matter-of-factly, the earlier revision has been revoked. There could only be one victor of the Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favour. Just an utter gut punch of a moment.
Yeah. And you really think the chapter's going to end, I think, if you're a first-time reader. And then, but also what's important as that announcement is being made is that Katniss, and this is where the book's like, there's good continuity with the arrows, because Katniss is holding the arrow that she shot at Cato that glanced off his body armor, and she's holding the arrow so that she can put it back in the tourniquet to tighten the tourniquet.
Yes.
That's important because when she turns back around to face Peter, he has pulled his knife out. So Katniss on instinct loads her bow and arrow and aims.
And it's such a good moment.
It's so good.
When you as a viewer read the line that he's got a knife out, and all of a sudden it's a bit of like, it feels like a rug pull where you have a moment of he was playing a game too.
Yeah.
Which would have been such a good fucking twist.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Hunger Games for what it is, and I'm glad that it wasn't that, but that would be crazy. But no, he throws it in the water. Katniss has like this internal moment of realizing that they never ever intended to let them both live, and that she bought it like a fool. And this is just so well done, because we have it established that Katniss is, can I finish?
Yes, you can.
Is very, very aware the whole book before she even reaches the Hunger Games, she is aware of the way that the Hunger Games work and the realities of the Hunger Game. The entire way through, she has been in the Hunger Games. She is thinking critically about it as a TV show and the production of the TV show and what makes good TV. She is so clued up into how the show works. And yet, even she gets wrapped up in it enough that she doesn't see this for the obvious bluff that it is. And it's so good because as a reader, you also don't. I mean, I literally, obviously, have been reading this knowing the twist. Even when you know the twist, I feel like you almost forget about it, that you're not reading it. Like, I feel like normally I would read this kind of thing and be like, oh, it's so obvious what's gonna happen. It's so, and I don't feel like, maybe some people do, but I don't feel like you read the Hunger Games go, obviously. I mean, yeah, like you could kind of, you thought about it, but it's not this glaringly obvious thing, which is a lot of these kind of plot twists in books, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that happens in like romantasy that's the same, where you spend the entire book getting frustrated because you're like, it's fucking obvious.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can kind of work it out if you do think critically in the Hunger Games, but it's not so outlandishly obvious that it makes it for a difficult read. I think because it's so fast paced, you are put into the same position as Katniss, where you just get swept up in it all.
Yeah.
You don't have the time to think about it because stuff is happening so fast paced that, exactly like Katniss, you don't think about it, you just accept it. And you're probably also wanting the best, exactly like Katniss. But I just love this moment of her thinking like, you know, I was fooled, because it does feel like even Katniss, who has seen through so much and is so conscious of the production, has been fooled. And the moment it says that, you know, there wasn't, you realise, yes, of course. It was only ever going to come down to this because this is good TV.
I put my hand up because Cato died. We forgot to shot.
Oh, yeah.
I was suddenly like, oh my God, he's dead. His body is gone. We don't know what this is.
I don't want to drink this. We don't know what this is. We don't know when this is from. It is in like a sticky... This has been given up to us in the lifetime of Goblet of Wine. It's definitely very old. I don't know if we've ever drunk this. It doesn't look like we have. And we can't remember what it is. If you know,
if you're thinking
us.
you two shouldn't drink that, you haven't met us yet.
Yeah, because it wasn't sealed either, and we don't know what it is. But we're gonna... It's literally, the bottle of this is like half sticky, like a label's been peeled off, and half covered in glitter and dust. What is that? That is something.
Yeah. I recognise it.
I recognise it.
To Cato.
To Cato.
You
You started to do that shot just after I did, and I thought for a second you weren't actually going to do it, and you were like pranking me.
I also want to call attention a little bit more to Katniss aiming the arrow at Peter. Because, so when Peter pulls the knife out, what he's actually doing is chucking the knife in the lake.
Yeah.
Literally, it's one movement to chuck it in the lake. Katniss does not hear the announcement and immediately pull the arrow on Peter. She looks at Peter, sees him pulling the knife out, and pulls the arrow on Peter. But she still feels this huge shame when she realises what Peter's doing. And I do think it again shows although I truly believe Katniss does love him at this point, even if she and us as the reader don't know what necessarily the line between platonic, other types of love, and romantic love is, she is on a different level to how Peter sees the whole thing. Because when Peter then just sees her holding the arrow, he doesn't, not angry at all. He's just like, yeah, do it. You should be the one to go home.
I do agree she's not 100% where Peter is, but I also, I think again, this comes down to human survival instinct. But maybe this is because I think I identify more with Katniss than Peter, but I just think you would be like, immediately your brain would send signals and your body would send signals that your life is in danger again. And then you would see someone with a knife. And I think your instincts would be to hold the arrow. But I think the key thing is she easily could have let go in that moment. Like, she didn't even have to pause. She could have whipped around it to let it fly. That's what she's done every other time.
Yeah.
But she does stop. This is the thing. She points it at him, but she waits to see if he is going to charge her.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing. I don't think for a second she ever had any intention of letting an arrow fly unless he was actually, like, coming towards her.
Yeah. She's also a lot more, like, traumatized than him because of her upbringing. So, like, those instincts make sense. We then get an argument, basically, between them about who should live and who should die. And this is where I fall so heavily on Katniss' side, and Peter's self-sacrifice is more selfish in some ways, because he says, you kill me, you deserve to go home, which he is bleeding out to near death at this point. So like, he does have a point there. And she says, no, you kill me. And he says, no, look, come on, they need their winner, just do it before they send more mutts. I don't want to deal with that. Like, a fair enough comment. And she then retorts, okay then, you shoot me and go home and you live with it, which is a fantastic line, because Peter is saying in this self-sacrificing way, you deserve to go home, shoot me, as if the better option here, I'm sorry, isn't to be the dead one, because the living one has to go back to a district where you killed the other tribute that you were saying you were in love with the whole time, but also just live with that internal knowledge that in that moment you killed them. The better option is to be dead here. And that is the conclusion Katniss comes to. She's literally like, I cannot go home. We're doing this. I would rather be dead.
Yeah. I see both sides of it, because I think that Peter's thinking she's got a family that needs her. His family doesn't really need him.
Yeah.
And he's also basically dead anyway. Like, even if he won, there was no guarantee that he would survive. But yeah, then she's thinking about the winner here is whoever dies.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are in like the perfect stalemate. And this is the thing about the berries. Yes, it's an act of rebellion, but I think even if it wasn't, they still would have done it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the death is winning here.
Well, yeah, so Peter decides to take the death into his own hands rather than Katniss having to do it by ripping his bandage off, so he bleeds out in front of her, which is like...
Huge slay.
All right, Jesus Christ, that's a horrible way to go, but fine, whatever. And Katniss says in her own head, if he dies, I'll never go home, not really, as in she'll live in trauma inside the games.
Yeah, always trying to think of a way out, which, yeah.
Yeah.
But she thinks of a way out.
It's a brilliant way out. So luckily she'd pocketed those berries from earlier,
yeah,
because they might have a chance to poison Cato sometime.
But again, like earlier, this is Peter also sort of gets the credit, because Peter says a line about they have to have their victor.
Yeah. And
so Katniss starts to think, yeah, they have to have their victor. And then that's when she kind of formulates this plan. She's like, she realizes that if there is no victor, the game makers might be executed for messing up the games. So she empties the pouch out. Peter immediately starts to grab it to stop her. And she's like, no, trust me. Which is like wild that he then does. Like, insane.
I suppose he is fully planning on being the one that dies anyway. He is not in any business of being the one that lives out of this anyway. So the difference between like, oh, I eat the berries or I don't.
No. As in... Because he thinks she's about to poison herself when she goes for the pouch, and then he grabs her, and then she's like, trust me, so he lets go.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's wild that he trusts her not to just go,
ate them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they take the berries, they stand back to back holding hands with their free hand. Kind of wild that it's back to back.
The back to back thing threw me off, because like, what do you mean you can't see what the other one is doing? That's an insane... Face each other. What are you doing?
Yeah, I guess maybe... You don't want to look each other in the eye? I don't know.
I hate the back-to-back thing. They're holding hands.
But it's very, I guess, like, symbolic.
Yeah.
I guess. And yeah, they go on the count of 3. Oh, before they go back to back, I assume Peter kisses her. I assume that's before they're back to back. They're not just like... Yeah. And then what I love as well, so this is Katniss's plan. I think it's a win-win situation in her eyes, right? Like, if they stop them, great, they win. If they don't, they die, they win, basically.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation, but she is kind of betting on the fact that she thinks they will be stopped. So it is an act of rebellion. She thinks that she has thought her way out of the situation that they're in. It's an act of rebellion. However, Peter goes, hold them out. I want everyone to see.
It's Peter that makes the bigger rebellious move.
It is. It's like he also does this act of rebellion, and I love that he's right there, because we kind of, I think, because we don't see inside his head, and a lot of what we see from Peter is emotion and brute strength.
Yeah.
We don't get as many moments where we do see his intelligence and his strategy. The X was one, and now this is another where we actually see he knows what Katniss is doing. He doesn't think, oh, this is, she can't live without me, or, neither of us want to win. Even though both of those are partly true, he knows that this is an act of rebellion and that's why she's doing it. she hasn't need to tell him. He knows, and he goes, hold them out. I want everyone to see. And again, this is where he's so good at these like people moments.
Yeah.
That she's just thinking about the nitty gritty, and he's the one that's like, we need to make this like a very visual, symbolic moment for this to be an effective act of rebellion. And it's why they make a good team.
But it then is very frustrating in the final 2 chapters that Snow clearly places almost 100% of the blame on Katniss's shoulders for this berry trick, when Peter is the one to say hold them out. Like, and also we had Peter on the roof moment, and yes, Snow didn't hear this, but at the beginning of the book where he says, I don't want them to turn me into something I'm not. I want to die, but on my own terms. That is exactly what this is. It's dying on your own terms. But the blame for the berries falls entirely on Katniss in the final 2 chapters.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of what I love about, I think, reading this after Ballad, is that you see why Snow blamed Katniss disproportionately.
Yeah. And that's where it ends. You don't know. They put them in their mouth and the chapter ends.
Yeah.
Oh no, they announced they both won.
It does. Yeah. So they put them in the mouths. There's a massive stop, and then I give you the tributes of the victors, the tributes of District 12. It's such a good moment.
Bear in mind, they're still holding the berries in their mouths.
Yeah. So they then,
yeah.
Anyway.
Wow.
It's so fucking good. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
It's so good. Fucking hell. Like, I almost hate Suzanne Collins sometimes for like, I fucking wish I'd written this. I wish I was this talented. Like, this is insane. I genuinely think that The Hunger Games is like a perfect literary achievement.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, to distill ideas and important topics this big into something that it was marketed at 12-year-olds is like an unparalleled skill. And the writing style of it, I just think it's so incredibly well written, both from like a prose and like a narrative perspective. Like, it's just fucking great. And it boggles my mind. She wrote children's TV. Yeah. Like, how do you go from writing children's TV? I know that like writing skills are transferable, but it's just such a fucking escalation to write children's TV, and then one day you pop your pussy this hard and you just release the fucking Hunger Games. Like, yeah. Stunning. Woman had stuff to say. Stunning. We're not even at the fucking end yet, but But to be fair, that shows also how much more political messaging she had to do, because I feel like in a lot of YA books, this would be the end. Like, the final sentence would be them spitting the berries out and off they go in the hovercraft, and that would just be the end. But we actually have 2 more chapters of some high stakes, tense political stuff. But that's not normally how a YA book is structured. So like, yeah, it's got some good stuff in it. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks for listening. That's it. That's what we do at the end. And we'll see you in the next one for finishing the first book. We are doing the next one, right? Nah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast by Goblet of Wine Productions. If you'd like to follow us around the internet, you can find our social media links in the description. Or if you'd like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon, where you'll gain access to bonus episodes and behind the scenes content. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Bye. Noise.